Untouchables or the Children of India's Ghetto by Babasaheb Ambedkar. Part 3, Chapter 8 3. These are examples of servility in which race or religion played no part, but examples of servility by reason of race or religion are not wanting in history. The principal one is that of the Jews. On account of the belief that the Jews were responsible for the death of Christ, the Jews have been subjected to persecution. During the Middle Ages, in almost all the European towns, the Jews were compelled to reside within a restricted quarter in a separate part of the town, and this Jewish quarter came to be known as the Ghetto. A council held in Koyanza in Australia in 1050 enacted that no Christian shall reside in the same house with Jews, nor partake of the food, and whoever transgresses this decree shall perform penances for 7 days, or, refusing to do it, if a person of rank, he shall be excommunicated for a year. If of any inferior degree, he shall receive 100 lashes. The Council of Valencia in 1388 enacted that Christians must not dwell within the same quarters assigned to the Jews and the Moors, and those that resided within them were to remove therefrom within 2 months after the publication of this decree in the cathedral. If they did not, they were to be compelled by ecclesiastical censure. In the Middle Ages, the Jews were obliged to have communal baths. No Jewish community could be destitute of such baths because the state often forbade the Jews to bathe in the same rivers which the Christians used. In the 14th century, the Jews of Augurs were readmitted to the town on several onerous occasions, one being that they could not bathe in the river Main. The state also levied certain taxes upon the Jews. They were of three kinds: poll taxes, particular fines, and dues for individual transactions and privileges. The age at which Jews or Jewesses became liable to the poll tax varied considerably, but the age was very young, and in Spain, as in England in 1273, every Jew above the age of 10 was rateable. The billeting of soldiers on Jews in times of peace was a frequent species of an exaction. So many were the vexatious dues exacted from the Jews everywhere throughout the Middle Ages that it would be impossible to enumerate them all. To crown all this, Pope Innocent III decided in 1215 that thenceforward the Jews must be marked off from the Christians by a badge prominently fastened to their outermost garment. Clear and emphatic in its demand that the Jews must wear badges, the Lateran Council nevertheless avoided details. It left the definition of the size, color, character of the degrading mark to the taste of local governors and states. Each governor and state devised a badge of its own pattern. On account of the extraordinary number of modifications, size, and shape, the badge sometimes became obsolete, and the Jews managed to evade it. As the badge was often hidden, in 1525 Pope Clement VI changed it for a year and a yellow hat or bonnet. A consideration of the position of the untouchables reminds one of the position of the Catholics in England. The Catholics were subjected to many disabilities. The catalogue of their disabilities is given below. 1. That of Catholic marriages or of marriages Catholic celebrated by Catholic priests being deemed invalid by the existing laws, so that if one of the parties quit, the other quicemque de causa, for any reason whatsoever, the deserted party receives no relief from the parish, nor redress from the law of his or her country. The priest also, it is said, may be transported or put in prison and condemned to transportation for having married the party. That of foundations or of monies appropriated for the maintenance of priests or to support the Catholic worship being deemed by the existing laws to be appropriated to superstitious purposes and as such are liable to confiscation, and when alienated or seized upon by malevolent persons cannot be recovered by law. Instances of such alienation and seizures might be adduced. 3. That of Catholics serving in His Majesty's army and navy being withheld from attending divine service according to the right of their own religion on Sundays and festivals, and of their being compelled to go to Protestant churches on those days against their will, an evil which leads brave and loyal subjects to complain and be discontented at a time when every heart and hand should be united to oppose the enemy. and the United Kingdom should be as one man. 4. By the 13th Charles II, commonly called the Corporation Act, a whole body is excluded from offices in cities and corporations. 5. By the 25th Charles II, commonly called the Test Act, a whole body is excluded from civil and military offices. 6. By the 7th and 8th William III, c. 27, Roman Catholics are liable to be prevented from voting at elections. 7. By the 30th Charles II, SC 2 C1, Roman Catholic peers are prevented from filing their hereditary seats in Parliament. 8. By the same statute, Roman Catholics are prevented from sitting in the House of Commons. 9. By several statutes, Roman Catholics are disabled from presenting to advocats a legal incident of property which the law even allows to the Jews. 10. Though a considerable proportion of His Majesty's fleets and armies was Catholic, not only is no provision made for their religious comforts, etc., but by the Articles of War, they are liable to the very heaviest pains and penalties for refusing to join in those acts of conformity to the religious rites of the established church. By the Articles of War, Section 1, a soldier absenting himself from divine service and sermon is liable, for the first offence, to forfeit 1 shilling, and for the second and every other offence, to forfeit 1 shilling and be put in irons. By the same article, section 2, article 5, if he shall disobey an lawful command of his superior, and of course, if he shall disobey any lawful command of his superior to attend divine service and sermon, he shall suffer death, or such punishment as by general court martial shall be awarded. 11. In common with the rest of His Majesty's subjects, the Roman Catholics contribute to the support of the established religion. They have also to support their own religious functionaries and thus have a double religious establishment to defray. Of course, however, they do not complain, but they think it a serious grievance that their own religious endowments are not legalized like those of the Protestant dissenters. 12. In hospitals, workhouses, and other public institutions, the attendance of the ministers of their own communion is sometimes denied to the poor of the Roman Catholic religion, and the children of the Roman Catholic poor are sometimes forced into Protestant schools under the eyes of their parents. Like Catholics, the Untouchables also suffer from certain disabilities. The end.